Welcome and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. On the program today, we're going to be talking about archetypal dreamwork. It is a Jungian-Based form of therapy to have a deeper relationship with the soul self and the divine. After all, our dreams do show us ways that we can heal, the way that we can look into the dark corners where both love and terror hide, and they also challenge our ideas of who we are and help us explore who we are not. We also believe ourselves to be something sometimes other than we are. On the program today, joining us from north of Eden is Mark Bergman and Krista Lancaster. How are you both doing today?
Good, Daniel. Thanks for having us back.
Yeah, hi, Daniel.
Betcha. Now, this is always such an interesting subject because there's so many interpretations of what dreams are, but in your experience, what have you come to know dreams to be?
Well, I would just, for my part, dreams have an intention that is not the same as what we would like the dreams to intend. So it's a little bit initially a kerfuffle in that we would like the dream to be a certain way or give us advice on things that are from our point of view, of course. The dream will do that if we're truly in the wrong or being abused. But moreover, its purpose is to show us how we carry our disease, our shadow, the part of ourselves that actually is recreating our lives in ways that perhaps keep us from our souls. It doesn't mean that you can't have a good life without your soul or a miserable life without your soul, but if you're not in your soul, your dream will show you this and will show you what's in the way and the journey to reconnect with it.
Mm-hmm. Tell us, what exactly is archetypal dreamwork?
Well, the kind of dream work that evolved, that began with Mark, not that others haven't explored dream work and the archetypes, but bringing those two words together specifically in this work is about acknowledging the forces that come through our dreams that can reach us with felt experiences of love or grace or ferocity or searing sort of knife of truth into the ego's great defense of the tender soul that lives inside us. So archetypal dreamwork is really the dreamwork led by the divine, or whatever word for that mysterious other that fits.
Yeah, Carl Jung used the term archetype to describe that battleground between forces that would have us not know our soul and the divine that wants to support us reclaiming it. And these figures come into our dreams and interact with us, both, like I said, good and ill. And just to start, just to say that the dreams do reveal the soul in its presence as usually a child between the ages of 4, sometimes younger, and 8 or 10 or 11, prepubescent. So the child self will appear as separate from us, and through the process of transformation, we eventually will have dreams when we are, in fact, the child experiencing what the soul child feels. Mm-hmm. That is a big piece of work. But more times, right, starting out, you'll always be rescuing the child like you are an adult. We always attach ourselves as the adult, of course. We have kids, we want to support them. But for ourselves to be the child, feeling everything that we need to feel to become the child and be supported by the divine as like we're a child, that's the trick of the dream.
Now, what is an archetype when it comes to this work?
Well, there are several. Animus, A-N-I-M-U-S, Anima, A-N-I-M-A, are two of the famous ones that represent the androgynous two aspects of the divine, which is the female and the male, animus being the male. And the role of the animus being more, as Carl would say, the trickster, where he comes to show us our blind spot, where we hold trauma and project it onto the world, where we're tricked by ourselves. He uses tricks in the dream to help us see through those blind spots that keep us caught in our lives in a way that doesn't allow for change and self-exploration.
So they're actually, the archetypes are teachers, really, that come in our dreams to show us what's getting in the way, like the thing that we can't see, because of course if we could see why we're blocked, maybe we would just go ahead and change our life, but they actually go underneath the idea of who we think we are. You know, how we get really identified in blaming someone else, or we're right, the other person is wrong. That's usually a key indicator that we're in a blind spot, when we're in that sort of black and white thinking of so-and-so is all bad and I'm all good, means that we're not in the reality of our soul self that can feel the largeness of a situation. Or
then there's people, of course, that get along with everyone and make sure they're not in reaction, or no one's reaction to that. There's whatever our cover is
gets blown
through stage 1 dreaming. And in the advanced dream, the stage 2 dreaming is where we go through kind of a journey like Frodo did, and
or Odysseus, or anyone who goes on that journey.
Mythological dreams, which often include past lives dreams about our past lives that reflect trauma that affects us today, and without the memory of what that was. So a lot of times we have these fears, and we don't understand where they came from, particularly if you have a childhood that's pretty fun and clean, and yet you're afraid to go to the store. So it doesn't really matter. You can find, well, this happened when I was 8 or 9. Sometimes that could be some causality, but dreams tend, as you go into the work, want to reflect back to things that have happened before this life, and that is reflected in dreams, as well as current trauma in this life reflected in dreams.
And so, Daniel, I know your show is geared, sort of beyond 50, and there are a large number of people who do this form of work, who come to it at this stage of life when we've achieved a lot in the outside world, or not, had children or not, had success, or all the different ways that we've formed ourselves. And often people want the searing sort of bullseye truth of the dream, because they know, wait a second, I did all this, or I didn't do all this, and there's still all this unrequited longing. And so for folks listening, this kind of dream work works really well with all the work that one has ever done, or life experience, and will bring you through into a place where the thing that hasn't budged, or the opening that hasn't happened, the longing for grace or peace, spiritual healing and emotional healing, or relationship healing. The dream sort of will go very specifically where we each need to open up at any given time. So it's very personal and individual way. It's a very personal and individual way of working with dreams.
Do you find that as you've worked with people over the years, that even though dreams seem to be different from person to person, that generally there might be themes that run through all of us?
Themes?
Yeah, themes that run through all of us that are very similar, in other words.
There are patterns that the older you get and you see, oh, I've been here before, or, this is the same moment I've had 100 times and 1,000 times, and those are unique, have unique feeling to them, to that person. So and at the same time, I agree. There are certain things that are similar with all of us. But what makes dreams so amazing is that, I've been working dreams for 45 years, and I could break. I've had many, many clients, so I could have a huge overview, and I could break it down into this type of person, this type. But really, everybody is so uniquely amazing to the dream. And there are certain things that are similar in certain initiations and dreams or processes, but really, the unique experience, the unique feelings, and the combination of feelings that people experience and their reactions is so particular to that person. It's what makes the work so exciting, is that every person is so, you never get tired of doing the dream work with others because everyone is so uniquely different, and it's the journey is different for everyone in some way. Mm-hmm. But you could generalize it, of course, but...
Yeah, I would say, in a way, you could say that everyone has a calling to go through a portal, and the portal usually has to do with loss or fear or insecurity of some kind, and that the dreams will pull back the sort of brambles around those portals, so to speak, dream by dream, to show where we're blocked, and open up this wonderful gateway. And we often use the analogy of the door in the wardrobe, in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, C.S. Lewis's book, that there's a magic doorway entering into an extraordinary inner realm for each person on the planet. And that everybody dreams, and everybody has a portal. It's just a matter, sometimes we need help because the path to the portal has been obscured, and we've covered over by our own accumulated ways of defending and blaming or judging ourselves or others, or just some of the ways, or aggrandizing ourselves or demeaning ourselves.
Right. So Hermann Hesse, who studied with Carl Jung in his book Steppenwolf, talked a lot about what he called personality. The personality, the opinions, the story experiences that define us actually has to die. It has to, and Carl calls that going into the desert. And before you could get journeying into the underworld that Chris was talking about, which are the portals, this is where the real spiritual wonderful wonders are, you have to give up and die somewhat to let go of all the things you think you know and the way you even know it. Basically, it comes down to two things: feeling versus thinking. And really knowing what your feelings are and journeying through your feelings. Well, the personality is about a lot of emotions and some feelings, more about emotions and reactions and a lot of thinking. So it's really what Krista says. I like the way you said it. The brambles. And those are some words to describe what those brambles are. Not easy to break through them because everything that we define ourselves with are things that actually have nothing to do with our souls and the journey. Mm-hmm. Even if we're right about stuff, we're right about it in our heads and maybe a little bit in our hearts, but the profundity of feeling, and you do the dream work and you're a captive audience, and the dream wants you to feel something you've never felt in your life, whether it's love or fear or pain, it's all in there in a repressed way. You feel it. You have no choice. But that's what happens when people really open to their dreams. They often are committing to opening to their feelings.
Right. And of course, as human beings, we'd like to be selective about that. We'd like to just sort of pick and choose, and I'll take the joy and the excitement and the passion. Mm-hmm. And it just does, well, no, I'm sure that it doesn't go like that. You open a door to the feelings, and there's heartbreak in the love, and there's fear in the joy, and there's insecurity in taking the step towards what is truly exciting. So the dreams, we're sort of sounding dramatic about it. Of course, it happens very step by step with each dream. And you will never be sort of taken to something more intense than you're actually have the ego strength to handle. So, for example, somebody may come into this work who needs a lot of help feeling support, and they will have dream after dream where the archetypes come through the feminine and the masculine with great, great love and caring until the time that person is ready to confront something more challenging about themselves, perhaps the way they're complicit with being a victim, or their pride, or their shame. So each person, that's the wonderful thing about being a practitioner of this work as an analyst, is that I never know where the dream is going to begin with someone or where we're going to go on this ride. And I follow and I listen and I help to translate the deeper meaning of the dream for the dreamer in a collaborative way, feeling out what each part of the dream means for the dreamer.
And what it feels. How we know meaning is through feeling and experience. So things in dreams are like in a code. As Krista says, when you crack the code by working in a collaborative way, we're not sitting there saying the dream means this or that. I mean, there are some things we need to educate the client about, but on a personal level, it's about what things mean to the client. And, for example, the owls often are pathology because they represent the darker corners of the ego or of the forces that are destructive. And so you might you might see that, you might believe that, and see that it's true. But then you have a client that suddenly it's not true. Owls for them are something else. Or a shark, for example, almost always is not a good figure in a dream representing some absolute threat. But there can be for some
a baby shark,
or even a shark could be a positive thing of power and potency.
Right.
So how do we know that? Well, we know that through how working with a person, how they feel, what comes up for them about it. It's really not about this means that because collectively we all respond to sharks this way. It's about how you feel in relationship, and sometimes our feelings lie. So we have to be cautious that we find out from other clues and other dreams what is true. But nothing's the same for everyone, and sometimes climbing a mountain in a dream is a very pathological thing. It's not a good thing. For others, it's a great thing.
Yeah. So it kind of takes anything can be something that's an opening, or something could be revealed about the obstacle, and it takes a really close relationship of trust and understanding to bring out what the meaning, and as Mark's describing, crack the code and create each person's own vocabulary, and to build that up over time is a pretty amazing thing to be a part of.
And if you mess up, then the next dream will show the analyst that they messed up. And the other really exciting thing about archetypal dream work is we also not just do it one-on-one, we also, people that do the work and some people that even brand new, come into these groups that are basically 8 to 10, and we act out the dreams with everybody in the group who plays the various roles for one particular dreamer. And that is a really exciting way that the dream gets reenacted, and those that participate in it are also going through their own feelings about what's happening for them in a particular dream. So it's very, it doesn't have to be just one-on-one. It could be in a group where we're all learning to unmask ourselves together through the dream. Because the dream shows us what's underneath our personas, our personality, our ego selves, into the battle that we're in for our soul and the journey that we're on. And that's a really great way to know a person and where they are at in their journey and what they're working on. Way rather than, I bought a new car, or I paid my house off,
or this is what I do for a living.
Right. We introduce people in that way, but really you don't know anyone until you begin to know where they are in their work and what they're struggling with and how it plays out in their family life, etc.
Give us an idea, if you can, that somebody comes, they approach you and they say, I'm thinking about exploring this because perhaps I have a hurdle, in my career. I always seem to, well, let's say one of the biggest challenges that you see for people is that they tend to be underpaid, that we're underemployed, so to speak, and they're trying to find out why they always sell themselves short. And through this dream work, archetypal dream work, tell us about that process, that if you've worked with someone like this, what that looks like.
Well, I'll start, and Chris, a big question, just to say that the first thing, our lives are filled with the symptoms of the way that we're not ourselves. And so you're right, one of them could be that we're always broke and blah, blah, blah. But if you put that in a straight line, I'm not sure the dream would care. It might be more like if you tap your creativity and find where the soul doesn't care about money, but if you do the thing that is really you and you go on that journey with yourself, or didn't, that may be where you're successful financially because you're doing the thing that is really where you're the best talent. I know so many people I work with find out that the things they do in their life have nothing to do with where their talents and creativity and joy lives in them. And so a lot of times people are stuck in jobs they don't really like and trying to feel like, I've only made enough money to be okay. But really, if they did what was in their heart first, they'd be okay even if they didn't have as much money. But when you do the things in your heart, the world seems to want and appreciate it. Mm-hmm. That's the main thing. When you're really in your heart, you have the thing that you do and the success that comes with following what's truly your essence. So we would never say to somebody, do the dream work and get rich. I might say, do the dream work and find where you're blocking something that's really your true self that may relate to something you will eventually do in the world. But, it's not the thing you do in the world that's as important as finding the thing in you that's the doer, which is called the soul, and opening up the libido and the energy and the joy and passion. And the passion for something that...
Well, what you find often is at that precipice when the dreams have revealed that, Daniel, is that people really get to see that what they're scared of is the change that would entail if they really stepped into who they are, because, of course, we'd all like it delivered on a silver platter, but being who you really are means facing into the fear of being really who you are. And it's remarkable how many people, when it comes to the point where the opening is there, are terrified. And sometimes people pull back at that point and they say, oh, you know what? It's just too scary.
Mm-hmm. It'd be scary because maybe in a past life, what they really want to do got them into trouble, which sometimes that you find out, oh, well, you were this person that did this thing and you got into trouble for it, and now, of course, you associate it with,
right,
if I do it, I'll get into trouble again. There's a million reasons why we shy away.
Right.
We could speculate endlessly, but that's to be find out. Why is it that the thing that brings us the most joy, we run away from? Good question. Right.
Well, I know for myself, if you'd like a juicy personal example for your listeners, I did very well in life hiding behind marriage and children and all the rest of it, and I quietly built my practice in the back room. And it wasn't until a few years ago when Mark and I got together that we really began bringing this work out into the world with a great team of folks at North of Eden who shared that same mission to bring the dream into consciousness in a radical way. And boy, lo and behold, I started having dreams about why I was so terrified and why I had hidden my practice safely at the back room of the house. And we've written a book about this, about our past life trauma called Flesh Off the Bone, the descent. I can't remember the name of the dream descent through past life trauma. So it's on our website if you're interested. We really, I had to face into how I had really been persecuted and burnt alive for speaking. So I never knew that until I had the dreams, where I was at this phase of my life where I needed to step in front of an audience or speak on the radio. And I never knew why I froze up and my vision would start to cross, because I really had this ancient trauma terror that was still, I was unconsciously reacting to by choosing a life that was nice and great, love kids and all that, but I was not stepping into my my gift.
And to answer Dan's question, you had never really earned much money.
That's true. I hadn't, one way or another. I had been looked after. And, I'm a great example, actually. And so 5 years ago, when I started to have these past life trauma dreams and do the work of facing into the fear and re-feeling the experience of being burnt, within 3 months, people will love hearing this, my practice went from very part-time, 7 people, to 40 people, full-time practice. In a matter of 3 months, all of a sudden, the phone started ringing off the hook, and I was like, where are they coming from, and how are they finding me? And it wasn't anything to do with promotion or publicity, or I just was ready because I had done the work of my deep healing to resolve what unconsciously I was blocking. I was blocking being known.
Mm-hmm. I know when I was asking the question earlier, Krista, what was interesting about that as well, Mark brought up the ideal that I was thinking, we're going to focus on how you can make more money, when the truth is what we're trying to see, because a person is underemployed, which means to me, even though they may have a conscious reason why they're doing this regularly, that deep inside they just probably don't feel they deserve to live up to something much better, something that is more authentic, as the two of you have been talking about. And as a result, your outside world will feel like a struggle, and therefore you'll continually put yourself in situations that are very comfortable. And I can see how using archetypal dream work, where you don't get a chance to hide in your consciousness, but you actually have to face your subconscious view of who you believe or think you are. And I think that's so fascinating. I know that some years ago I was introduced to a gentleman out of France who actually helps in marketing. And it was really fascinating how he takes a look at marketing from the perspective of codes. In other words, we have a specific code for things. To give you an example, in Germany, people prize automobiles for their engineering. In America, we prize automobiles for the way we feel and look and for the way the car looks. It could run like garbage and have lousy gas mileage, but if I look good in this car while I'm driving down the street, that's what's important in America. That's the code. Now, the way he achieves this is really quite fascinating. In some ways, it might be like what you're talking about here, but I think it's also different, is that he'll, let's say, let's give an example of, let's say, shirt. Okay, you want to design the ultimate shirt that's going to get out there and that's going to sell quite a bit. Write down all the things that you believe this shirt is to somebody else. So you'll write down consciously all these neat little ideas. And then what he has you do is you go into another room, and for about an hour to 2 hours, you actually take a nap. Then as soon as you wake up, you do the same thing again just after you wake up. And you'll have a whole different criteria than you had before. You don't get a chance with your conscious mind to rationalize. what this will do and what this will provide, you're there, you're with your subconscious. And I thought, that would be an interesting exercise just in general. What are my thoughts as I wake up into the day? And is that what I'm actually intending, through the day? And then, you hear a lot about the law of attraction. Well, I want to attract all this. How come this isn't happening? And I found that this exercise that I just kind of incorporated on my own, I said, oh, that's kind of an interesting idea. Wake up, what am I thinking right at that moment? That is your raw state right there. And it gives you an opportunity to work with it. And you guys go even deeper by saying, well, hey, why not do it before you open the door to the day?
Right. What are you dreaming? The first thing Chris and I ask ourselves when we wake up is, well, what was your dream? And sometimes the dream will hit on our personal work. Sometimes it will hit on things in our relationship. We realize suddenly, like, you know what? I was wrong the other day. I had this dream about, if you will actually correct me at night, wake up and have a different perspective about what I thought was going on in my relationship. Something very immediate, even as a little thing in our marriage. And you really get a feeling of being watched over. I don't trust my mind. So many people will have a dream and then they'll wake up and then they'll interpret the dream, or they'll immediately go into their head. So for me, REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement, is the place where you procure the dream, is the only place that I've learned to trust in myself. Because I have so many stories and so many ways of looking at things, and I understand what the gentleman is saying, get a perspective. But what if you could get 50 perspectives, and none of them had to do with your real direction of life? Mm-hmm. That's where the dream is so great, because it's not a crapshoot. It's a specific direction and answer to your own separation from yourself. So first thing, writing the dream and understanding it and working it, and not trusting myself in that. Obviously, sometimes you need help to understand the dream and have some interpretation and work the feeling levels of it. It's not something that you write your dream and know things, but I'm sure it's a lot easier just to wake up and know things. But it's very tricky, because the mind can make 100 things out of pea soup. That mm-hmm. It's incredible how we think so far away from our souls, and our life's so short. We just run out of time. Mm-hmm. 50's a wake-up call. Carl used to say 40 was a wake-up call. That's when you really, 40's a good age, 50's a good age. To try to look at yourself and your dreams are great ages. I like the
Well, it's not too late. I have someone I work with who's in their 70s who said the other day, it's just amazing that, even with my aging body, I feel more like a child through my dream work. I feel, the exhilaration and joy of the 8-year-old boy in the forest. And I love that. Because my grandmothers both lived over 100, so I'm hoping and praying, that I could be, have more, more of that child essence, even as, my body ages. It's the eternal self that we want to have in life and in death, and in life and in death, and so forth. And, it's the eternal self that the dream wants us to find that, and then we grow, and the counterforce wants us to keep us from that, and distracted and preoccupied. Well, yeah, and just on the external level of the amount of money that goes towards keeping the body looking a certain age, as if that will keep us young, when there's this, if without the child, the essence, the eternal self, that's all great packaging, but if you really don't feel it inside, I don't know, it seems like a sad juxtaposition.
Mm-hmm. Nothing like having all the money in the world and no happiness to go with it, huh?
Exactly.
That's right.
But it looks good.
It looks
like
good.
you were
You're
saying,
yeah.
It looks good.
Yeah, the value in America of like, well, let's just package it well and send it on its way.
If people believe you, then it's got to be true.
But you know, Daniel, I don't know if you know that two of our senior teachers in North of Eden and analysts are coming to near you soon.
Okay. We have a couple of people coming from North of Eden to Portland, Oregon, and when is that happening?
Well, they're coming, actually, Bill St. Cyr and his wife, Susan Marie Scavo, are coming to give a 5-day retreat at Brighton Bush Hot Springs down the road in Detroit in that amazing setting with the wonderful hot springs. We've gone there for several years, and that begins on, I believe, Monday, the 19th. And they'll be there Monday through Friday. And it's probably not too late if anybody's jazzed and thinks, wow, I just want to jump in. If you get on the Brighton Bush website, you can find out all the details. But they will be doing what Mark described, creating the group process in an intimate setting. They're highly experienced, trained analysts of this work and have been teaching and leading groups for many years. So they know how to create a wonderful sanctuary of safety and openness so that people do feel they can open to whatever degree they want to.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes new folks come and they just get to be in the circle and witness. And
also, we have Kripalu in the East Coast.
Yep, we're doing things on the East Coast.
We have a retreat center of our own in Vermont.
Yeah.
And for those on the West Coast, we have Hollyhock.
Hollyhock up in British Columbia in the fall.
So we said I will be there.
Yep.
And we also do Esalen at Big Sur.
In March.
Which is a fun one.
So we do come out to the West Coast, and we love coming to the Pacific Northwest and enjoy just meeting new people who also are looking for the ways to find more meaning, more depth, and to retrieve something that they kind of know they've lost, but they want.
You know, and that's so key too, Krista, what you said is we, a lot of times, regardless of what's going on outside of ourselves, feel that there is something missing, that there is something more, and it gets very difficult, you know, living from your point of view to point out what that is exactly. But deep inside, you know what it is. It's just being able to access that in a way that's truthful. And, you know, as I was mentioning earlier, we tend to rationalize things so much and you know, a way that getting to the truth sometimes is just not as easy as we would like it to be.
That's what's so great about dreams, because they go right for whatever is in the way until they get to you to feel what it really is. There's times when it's very confusing, and because there's trauma in the way, or there are experiences that shape us in a way that we don't want to. We're convinced if we change, it's not going to be good. So the dream, for me, that there's some consciousness that knows things that no one else knows, and it's talking right to me and right to you, and you would think that would be worth changing and giving up old notions. Well, maybe it's not. That's an individual choice. But for me, it was like discovering life. I mean, I was very, very lost, hippie person, and tried a lot of things, and it always came back to nil. until I began to look inside and discover the thing I was always looking for outside, and it was always there, and what an amazing life-saving thing for me, because ironically, it's the last place I would expect to find truth is in my own dream, but in myself in some way that I didn't have a clue about. And I think that I wouldn't be doing any type of therapy work, because without the dream, I'm just guessing. That's how I always felt. Like, wow, I start to dream, and for me, how did I know what dreams meant? I didn't know about this work. And I'll tell your audience, for me, a voice told me what to say to my clients about the dream. Mm-hmm. You know, because studying Carl Jung and going to school doesn't help you really, because this is such a different perspective. And I could never have guessed it. And after 10 years of listening and following and stumbling, I began to understand why I was, not just what the answers were, but why it was that they were the answers. And it's taken a while to develop it and teach it and share it so that everybody can begin to apply those things to themselves, whether it's through analysis or taking classes or reading some books or hearing it interviewed, getting people moving forward and understanding some basic principles. So on our website, northofeden.com, we have about 8 or 9 books, I'm not sure what the number is, that all you don't have to buy them at Amazon. You can just read them free online. That opens the door to self-discovery of your own dreams and learning about how to look at your dreams without having to necessarily see an analyst or go to a retreat. So I just want to, this is the age of self-help, and these books can help anyone free of charge to begin to understand a different way to understand what the dream is telling them.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's fascinating, too, when you think about this day and age of self-help, that when you see the regular, how would I want to say this, trend, a good example, you go on YouTube, okay, one of the most searched things that people look for is ways to do things. And I kind of laughed a little bit at one point thinking about that one day, just thinking about it, thinking, you know, when did we get to a time where we couldn't count on ourselves to learn something on our own? You know, that we need someone else to show us the right way to do something. You know, as you mentioned earlier, it's about tripping up. It's about making mistakes, brushing off, and getting back up and doing it again just for the sheer satisfaction of the journey. But you see so many people surrender that power to someone else. Someone else is the authority. Somebody else knows something I don't. And from what I'm hearing from both you, Mark, and Krista, is that's not the position you take at all. We're merely guides showing you something you inherently already know. And that's very encouraging.
Right, and because the dream is your dream, and it's talking directly to you about, you're right on, about something that you already know about. You may not have the whole answer, but in that dream, there's something that you already know, otherwise you wouldn't have the dream.
You see, Krista, that's how you fire Mark up.
You got it. You got it all the way to the West Coast.
Why don't you give out your website again?
It's all one word, northofeden.com.
northofeden.com. Very exciting, and people can find out, as you said, Mark, a lot about your work, and also there are books that they can read there for free, and it's just a matter of getting started to find out what it is that you would like to see yourself become. Very exciting.
Also have a submitted dream where you can, for free of charge, there's a thing on our website that you can just inquire, and you bring some dreams, and people will show you how we would look at those dreams, so you can get a sense of it.
Somebody will respond, a personal person, and so if anybody's like, I wonder what this would be like for me. It's another way to jumpstart your dream process too, just to get a little input, and that can, as you say, fire things up.
So we also have classes, and we have a new thing called 4 Towers, which is a low residential school that a 2-year and a 4-year program, and we have a gorgeous retreat center. So we have retreats up there in Vermont as well as our school. You also can take classes through North of Eden online. We have a WebEx type of thing where you're in class with many folks and all over the world, and all can hear each other, and we can see you guys. And so there's a lot of support. Just if you're listening and you know there's something about your dreams you want to learn more about, we just offer a huge range of possibilities. Reading about it, speaking to someone, sending in your dream, dropping in on a class. There's just coming to retreat. Some people like to jump right in with 2 feet, and other people are like, I think I'll just put my little baby toe in. And so we just offer everything, because really what we really care about is bringing the consciousness of the dream sort of back into the culture that we're living now. That it has been known, indigenous cultures, ancient worlds lived completely in harmony, and some probably still do, with the dream. And we're far, far away from that, and yet people know. More people that I meet, in trains and planes and automobiles, who say, I know there's something about my dreams, I just don't know how to find out what it is. That's really, the passion that you hear in Mark's voice that's our shared passion, and with all the teachers really and students at North of Eden to let the world know that the dream, it's true, that it has everything you need. It's a unique map of consciousness to unfolding. Nothing less, really. It's pretty extraordinary.
And if you're willing to just let go, boy, life is going to be a real roller coaster ride, is what it should be as well. And you keep talking, as you did earlier, about getting back to that childlike state again. Yeah. Sometimes you have to feel you have to ride the ride, and it isn't always calm waters. There's turbulent rivers, and the dreams give you the guidepost to be able to stay the course through all of it. And again, people can find out more by going to northofeden.com. Is that correct? That's correct. And everything we've spoken about is there. There's a lot in that website. Everything we do, activities, the Brighton Bush Retreat coming up with Bill and Sue, and many, many offerings. It's kind of a rich tapestry. Everything is there, and we're also happy to answer questions. So there's a phone number on the website if anyone feels like, wait a second, I need to talk to a real person, which sometimes at this stage we're in of technology can seem like, wow, that's the simplest, most direct contact in the world, and sometimes the hardest to get. But we do have a phone number too, and I think it links up with Susan Marie Scavo, who's going to be in Brighton Bush on Monday with her husband, Bill St. Cyr. Very good. Krista, Mark, thank you so much for joining us here on the program today. Oh, thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate your giving us the time and space to talk about the dreams. Absolutely. And we all wish you the best. And Mark, anything you'd like to add?
I just appreciate the opportunity to be on your show, and it's our second time, and I hope that we were able to expand some of these thoughts, and I'm sure that you directed us in a way that allowed you to do that. We're anxious to come back again. Enjoy you and your questions a lot. I think you're very, very right on about what it is that we do, and we share a lot in common, and that's exciting to be on a show where we get to have that common connection.
Well, thank you very much. And again, it's northofeden.com where you can find out more and find out just what it is that your life has been trying to tell you that you knew all along. And a lot of times it'll also tell you, visit us at beyond50radio.com. The number 50 will have some hot links there for you where you can find out more. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for joining us. This is the Beyond 50 radio program. And remember, live your day past halfway.